Dumb Husky and his white cat Shizun. Chapter 105. Shizun's human soul. The lights are brilliant, illuminating the pair of people. It was no longer at Menpo Hall as Chu Wanning had already arrived at Mo Ran's bedchamber. He could not see his way clearly, so Mo Ran took him by the hand and led him along. Chu Wanning's human soul had very bad perception and he didn't know what night it was, nor did he know who the person he was interlocking his fingers with was. Mo Ran led him into the room in a daze. He wiped the tears in his face and closed the door. Chu Wanning put down the bowl of wonton dish. Fumbling around, he came to the bedside and asked softly, "Is Mo Ran still asleep?" When Chu Wanning didn't receive any response, he assumed that Mo Ran was indeed still asleep and sighed, seemingly in frustration. Mo Ran, who could not bear it but was afraid he would leave again, sat down on the edge of the bed and said, "Shizun, I am awake." When he heard him call to him, Chu Wanning's brow twitched slightly. Then he gave a hum and hesitated, not speaking again. Mo Ran knew he was thin-skinned and if he thought Shi Mei was there, he would leave again before he could say a few words. So he picked up a hair button on the table and hit the door in the air, making a motion for Shi Mei to close the door and leave, and then said, "Why is Shizun here? Who brought you here?" Sure enough, Chu Wanning's half-soul is much more easy to deceive than the usual, and after a moment's daze he says, "Shi Mingjing brought me here and left." "Yes, he's gone." After a moment's silence, Chu Wanning finally said, "The wound on your back. Shizun is not to blame for the wounds on my back." Mo Ran said softly, "I was the one who picked that precious flower. Shizun is in the right to have punished me." Not expecting him to say that, Chu Wanning was stunned for a moment, then two soft curtain-like lashes trembled and he sighed, "Does it still hurt?" "It doesn't hurt anymore." Chu Wanning raised his hand, cold fingertips groping, touching Mo Ran's cheek for a long time. "I'm sorry, don't hate Shizun." Back then, it was impossible for him to say such soft words, but after his death, his soul was floating in the underworld. Looking back in his past, he felt that he had no regrets on the rest of his life except that he has been unkind to his disciple. So, when he was given the opportunity to recreate his old memories, the words that he had been unable to say, came out naturally and softly. Mo Ran's heart felt like a warm spring had flowed through it, and all the remaining hatred, old wounds, and resentment that had been left since his rebirth had been shattered into pieces, and were now washed away in this sincere apology, leaving nothing left. As he gazed at his Shizun's face in the light of the soul-calling lantern, the blood stain seemed to disappear and his pale face seemed to be alive again. He seemed to see again, through time that had never returned, the soft face of Chu Wanning when he first met him in life. Mo Ran couldn't help but raise his hand, warming it over Chu Wanning's cold one. "I don't hate you," he said. "Shizun, you have treated me well. I don't hate you." Chu Wanning looks away for a moment, then suddenly smiled. Even if he was dead, even when his face was stained and dirty, he still smiled like how spring blooms after the winter froze had thawed. His eyes were closed but there seemed to be pearls glittering between his lashes. It was a smile that had let go of a long-cherished wish after death, a smile that was as brilliant as it could be. It was like the most luxuriant and stable of hatang in bloom. The tops of its branches and trees were solemnly and discreetly adorned with millions of gentle and thin colors, radiant and fragrant, cloaking the leaves like stars. Mo Ran couldn't help but stare in awe. It was the first time in his 2 lives that he had seen Chu Wanning look so relaxed and bright. Mo Ran, clumsily, suddenly thought of smiling like a flower, but thought it inappropriate, and then thought of smiling like a pretty woman, but thought it even more ridiculous. In the end, he racked his brains and still couldn't think of half a word to describe the beautiful sight he saw at this moment. He could only repeatedly exclaim that it looked so good. Such a good-looking person, how come I never noticed it before? Mo Ran felt blessed to the core and suddenly whispered, "Shizun, there is something I want to tell you." That flower of Anti, which I did not know was so valuable. I plucked it that day to give to you. Chu Wanning seemed a little surprised. Mo Ran's voice softened and he blushed a little as he repeated, yes, I meant to give it to you. What are you doing picking flowers for me? Mo Ran's face reddened. I don't know, I think it's nice and it's pretty. He didn't say any more, but he was vaguely surprised that he still remembered how he felt when he picked that flower for Chu Wanning so long ago. Chu Wanning is as gentle as a cat without its nails, leaving only a tame, soft-skinned belly and round, full paw prints. He stroked Mo Ran's head and smiled, how silly. Mo Ran's eyes suddenly warmed up and he looked up at him, sniffling, yes, it's silly. Don't do it again next time. It won't happen again next time. Mo Ran thought about it and recalled that in his previous life, after he had given up on himself, he had gone doing bad things, bullying men and women and made Chu Wanning very angry. In the end, when Shizun became very disappointed, he told him the sentence that he had hated all his life, his character is poor, deficient by nature, beyond remedy. Mo Ran said, Shizun, I promise you that I will not be a disappointment to you again. I'll be good and won't do bad things. He is not very literate and could not make too many profound promises, but he felt a surge of blood in his chest and the simple and innocent soul of his youth seemed to have finally awakened from its slumber. Shizun, this disciple is so stupid. It has taken me a long time to realize that you have treated me so well. His eyes burned as he rose from the bed and knelt before Chu Wanning, kowtowing long and hard. When he raised it again, the youth's brow was solemn and dignified to the extreme. From now on, this Mo Ran won't let you be ashamed of him anymore. The master and disciple conversed for a long time, but mostly, it was Mo Ran talking of what he had been doing these past few days. Chu Wanning listened quietly, shaking his head and smiling every now and then. Before they knew it, dawn is breaking outside, as if the heavy ink of Huizhu is being diluted. The long night has come to an end. Master Huizhui stood by the Nahi bridge. The hem of his monk's garment was getting wet from the rushing water, but he seemed to be unaware of it as he waited in silence. A rising sun slowly showed in the east and a million rays of light penetrate the forest and shine through the leaves on the ever-flowing waters of the yellow spring. In an instant the river turns golden, the waves are like the scales of a dragon as they glisten with light and color. He is now in the realm of nothingness and can only be seen by those who have found the remnants of Chu Wanning's soul. Shi Mei and Xue Meng had both came, but did not see the old monk by the river. He does not seem to be in a hurry, but the rosary he is plucking in his hands is getting faster and faster, more and more urgent. Oh! Suddenly, the rosary that had been coiled for countless rounds scattered, and the star moon Bodhi fell like rain, crackling and scattering all over the ground. Huizhui's eyes opened suddenly, lips pursed and turned pale. Such an ominous omen. He rubbed his hands over the broken threads of the Buddhist beads, watching the beads rolling onto the shore for a long time until it splashed into the river, his face growing paler still. Master! Suddenly someone called out to him. Master! Sounding happy and enthusiastic. Huizhui immediately followed the sound and saw Mo Ran running from afar, carrying a soul-calling lantern with a mixture of golden and red light. The morning sun is dazzling, but the young man's eyes are brighter than the first sun, crystal-like. He runs up to Huizhui, his cheeks slightly flushed, panting slightly, but unable to contain his excitement. I found him. Mo Ran brushed his hair away from his forehead and tucked the soul-calling lantern containing Chu Wanning's soul tightly in his arms. He didn't refuse to see me, he's here. He pointed to the lantern in his arms, but seemed a little reluctant to give it to Huizhui, hesitating for a moment before seeming to hand it to him, but then withdrawing it within inches. Huizhui sighed with inscrutable relief, looked him up and down, and said with amusement, since you found him, you can just hold him, you don't have to give him to me. Mo Ran then carefully continued to hold it. Huizhui picks up the on-stick leaning against a tree and tapped it gently into the river. A green bamboo raft with white thread tied to its head appeared out of thin air on the shore. There is no time to lose, please get on the raft. It is common knowledge that the spring at Shisheng Peak lead to the ghost world, but because of the barrier that blocks it, it didn't mean that one can go to the underworld by simply following the river. Master Huizhui's bamboo raft was enchanted with a spell that allowed it to pass through the mortal realm and the ghost realm. After traveling for 1,000 miles, Moran sat alone on the raft for half a day before it came to a waterfall. Yellow Springs Waterfall. The waterfall is boundless and vast. A curtain of beads flows straight down, and the water splashes like thin smoke. Before Moran could even look, the raft that was carrying him went straight down towards the ancient curtain of water that was as huge as a beast. Before he could react, a powerful column of water seemed to tear through the flesh and blood of the living like a million sharp knives. Shizun. In the midst of the crisis, Moran's only concern was for the lamp in his arms, which he held tightly in his arms and never let go of, despite the swirling currents and the darkness of the sky. After an unknown amount of time, the deafening sound of the cascading waterfall suddenly disappeared. The torrential rain also suddenly receded. Moran slowly opened his eyes and was relieved to see that the soul-calling lantern was safe and sound. When he looked up, he was shocked speechless by the sight before him. The waterfall that traverses the mortal realm and the ghost realm is gone. The bamboo raft now drifts on a vast and tranquil lake, which is deep blue, flowing with dots of starlight and in which countless faint spirits swim and weave as if they were schools of fish. The reeds on both sides of the shore were thick and lingering reeds with a hazy glow floated in all directions. At the left and right ends, deep in the reeds, a man and a woman sang dreamily, seemingly mournful and serene. My body fell into the thunder abyss and my limbs were reduced to mud and paste. My skull fell into the sky and my hair was crushed into dust. My heart was eaten by red ants. They pecked at my belly, and the vulture was at a loss, but only the soul came back. The blue waters of the yellow springs flow eastward, and the various things before them must not be pursued. Moran floated on the bamboo raft for another long time when suddenly a pagoda towering into the dark sky appeared in the heavy night. As he got closer, he saw that the pagoda was huge and magnificent. But in the smallest detail, it was a ghostly work of art, flying with gold and color. It was like an evil beast covered in beeswax beads, gold and jade, brilliant and dazzling but sinister and treacherous. It crouches in the darkness of the night, opening its foul and bloody mouth, waiting for countless lonely souls from the past and present to be sent into its bowels. When one got closer, it could be seen that the corner tower was hideous, like a fang piercing the sun, and the head of the beast is majestic, as if it is listening to the world's grievances. Closer still. The remnants of Chu Wanning's soul seemed to feel uneasy, the golden glow of the lantern wavering slightly in and out of existence. It's all right. Moran sensed his unease and hugged the lamp, his lips close to the surface of the paper, whispering reassuringly, sending more of his own spiritual energy in to keep him company. Don't be afraid, Shizun, I'm here. The light trembled slightly, but after a few moments, it returned to tranquility. Moran lowered his thick lashes, glanced into the lamp and couldn't help but smiled, stretched out his hands to touch the edge of the lamp and then hugged it even tighter. In the darkness of the night, the words Ghost Gate are so bold and bright that they seem to have just been dipped in the blood of a living person. The raft docked and Moran stepped on the yellow road where even the mud smelled of blood. As he walked forward, there were more and more people around him, men and women, old and young, and corpse babies who had died shortly after birth, wailing and crying as they all drifted deeper and deeper into the underworld. Whether one was an emperor or general, rich and prosperous, or a commoner who was totally impoverished, no matter how many entanglements one brought, everyone will one day be buried. At this moment, in this place, this hard road can only be traveled alone by oneself. Moran follows the bustling stream of souls to the entrance of the ghost world. There sat a man with a fan in his hand, dressed like a soldier, whose stomach had been slit open when he died, so that his intestines came out from time to time. The soldier at the gate then impatiently stabbed himself back in the belly with the handle of his fan and raised his eyes to lazily question the newly dead ghost. "What's the name?" "Soon er Wu." "How did you die?" I died of old age." The gatekeeper then took a large stamp and carelessly stamped old age on the body sticker of the ghost world and handed it to Soon er Wu and said, "Don't lose it. If you lose it, you have to go to the 17th hell to get a replacement." Soon er Wu was very nervous. Probably every person who has just died will be nervous because of how brave and knowledgeable he was during his lifetime. "Then do I have to go to a trial? I'm a good man, even a chicken has been stupid during its lifetime, so I will be able to steal a good baby from the cup, or at least give me a rich wife." The old man ranted on and on, anxiously and gibberishly. The gatekeeper waved his hand. "The trial? There are so many souls in the ghost world that they have to wait for 8 or 10 years to be reincarnated, so you can stay in the ghost world until it is your turn. When your turn comes, you can tell the judge whether you killed a chicken or married a daughter-in-law in your lifetime. Next." Soon er Wu was stunned, stumbling, and stammering with a country accent, 10 years and 8 years. Mo Ran was amazed to hear from a short distance away, "What? It will take so long for one to go to the trial and be reincarnated?" "Of course, but if it's a heinous sin, or a soul that's not quite right, that's a different matter." The gatekeeper heard this and smiled wistfully, and when he did, his intestines came out again and he shoved it back in. "Those who enter the 18th level of purgatory never need to wait long." Mo Ran. Sun Er Wu, a 2-5-eyed man, wanted to ask more questions, but the gatekeeper's patience seemed to have reached its end, and he couldn't stop waving his hand. Go away, soul go. Everyone is in a hurry to be reincarnated. Old man, don't block the way. Next one. Next." Sun Er Wu was driven far away by his bushy fan. The next one was a beautiful woman. Her face was still pretty with powder, and as soon as she opened her mouth, her eyes showed a certain self-possession and style unique to her profession, and she softly said, "Sir, Jinhua was beaten to death by a bully. Everyone here died in different ways and each one has their own way of thinking. All the chaos of life is precipitated here. There is nothing more lively, nothing more mixed up than this." But Mo Ran only clutches the lamp in his arms. He owed it to his Shizun, beside which he cared for nothing. He just had to find the remaining part of his Shizun's soul. "Name." The gatekeeper yawned and looked up at Mo Ran. Mo Ran was about to speak when the guard suddenly flinched, as if sensing that something was wrong with the man, and suddenly stood up, staring him in the face. Mo Ran secretly thought that this is not good, not to mention that he was a man who had died once and did not know if his soul was odd. Even if it wasn't, it was well worth interrogating him for holding the remnants of another person's soul in his arms. But there was no second entrance to the ghost world, and therefore, there was no escape. So he can only look resolutely at the gatekeeper. The guards narrowed their eyes. Mo Ran feigned composure and announced himself, "Mo Ran." The gatekeeper didn't say a word. Mo Ran's heart was beating like a drum, but his face was calm as he said, "I died of chi deviation. Please give me the appropriate body stamp." End chapter. Dumb Husky and his white cat Shizun. Chapter 106. "Shizun, where are you?" "Died of chi deviation," the gatekeeper repeated his words slowly, and then grunted, "From cultivation." A cultivator comes here at such a young age, you're so wronged." The guards are not smiling. Many people in the mortal community do not have much wisdom and cannot make good karma, so when they mock cultivators, they always mean to say that they do not eat grapes as they are sour. "I see that your soul is not right, it is not pure. Master Huizhui had put a spell on Mo Ran, which prevented him from being perceived as a living person and so that he would be able to make contact with spirits and ghosts. The gatekeepers shouldn't be able to see through him, but he was a little uncomfortable. The gatekeeper sat down again, crossed his legs and took a black ruler from the drawer. The Zhongxing ruler, he said smugly, although Mo Ran didn't know what he had to be proud of. The ruler wasn't his, but the smaller the official, the more he liked to show off. The gatekeeper snapped the ruler onto the table, rolled his eyes and stared at Mo Ran. "Give me your hand, let me measure your merits while you were still alive." Mo Ran. His merits while in the world of the living? Will it be determined that he will be sent directly to the Yanluo gods to be crushed into pieces? But with all eyes on him, he had nowhere to go. So, he sighed and held the lamp in one hand while extending the other towards the gatekeeper. The gatekeeper pressed the ruler to his wrist, and almost as soon as it touched it, the Zhongxing ruler shrieked, gurgling blood bubbling out of its black body, accompanied by the wailing of millions of people. "You will not die in peace. Mo Weiyu, you shall not live forever. Father. Mother. You motherfucker dog. Why? 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 Don't kill me please, don't kill me." Mo Ran jerked his hand back, his face as white as paper in a flash. The circle of ghosts were all looking at him furtively. The gatekeeper's gaze was particularly obscure as he stared at Mo Ran like a tiger and, after a moment, looked back down at the ruler. The red light on the ruler disappeared and the blood seemed to have flowed away to nowhere like it was a mere illusion, leaving the table clean, except for a line of writing that gradually emerged from the body of the ruler. It said, "Sins beyond redemption, must be escorted to." Because Mo Ran retracted his wrist before the measurement was finished, the judgment on the ruler was incomplete. The gatekeeper grabbed him violently by the arm and stared at him with a fierce, vicious, and extremely venomous death stare, like a bored hunter who has finally caught a rare bird after a long time. His nostrils flared, his eyes glowed with a strange light, and his intestines were almost halfway out, but this time he didn't even bother to stuff them back in. "Don't move, you will be tested again." He was impatient, greedy, almost as if he was already taking credit for Yanluo's work. His ghostly claws were deep in Mo Ran's wrists, forcing him towards him and poking the ruler into his flesh like a lunatic. If he could catch a ghost that could be sent to the 18th level of hell, it would be a great achievement. He would be able to rise at least 3 levels and no longer have to keep track of every single wisp of lonely soul at the city gate every day. Test him again. This time, measure it well. The Zhongxing ruler lights up again. There was still blood and cries all over the place. All the people Mo Ran has killed and the sins he has committed seem to be squeezed into this small black ruler, and the grievances are almost bursting the ruler. So hateful. "Mo Weiyu, I will not let you go even if I die." Mo Ran's face grew hard, his eyes lowered, his lips pursed, the color in his eyes unknown. "You have no conscience, you have turned the earth into purgatory. I won't let you go even if I'm a ghost." Ah! Sounds of wailing, hissing, cursing, and resenting. Suddenly a faint sigh was heard over so many voices. "I'm sorry, Mo Ran, it's Shizun's fault." Mo Ran's eyes snapped open with a look of grief. He heard again the voice of Chu Wanning in his previous life, so soft, so sad, but like a sharp knife that bored hard into his skull, almost splitting his soul open. Those voices faded and the Zhongxing ruler returned to peace. The line reappears in small print, "Sins beyond redemption, must be escorted to." This time Mo Ran didn't take his hand off any earlier, but the judgment still didn't finish. The gatekeeper froze and tapped the black ruler. "Is it broken?" The black ruler trembled slightly under the slap, and after a while, the words dissipated on their own and a thin wisp of immortal chi floated up from the surface of the ruler. An infinite brilliant glow shone out. This time there were no cries coming from the ruler, but rather the sound of 100 birds and a slender voice entering the clouds, as if the sound of elegant music from the 9 heavens had descended on hell. It was only when the celestial music stopped that the guards suddenly snapped back to attention. Afterward, new writings appeared on the Zhongxing ruler which said, "Unusual soul, allow to pass." The gatekeeper lost his voice. "That's impossible. Didn't it just say beyond redemption? How come now it's just an unusual soul?" Undeterred, he took the ruler and measured Mo Ran many more times, but each time the result was the same. First there would miserable shrieking, then celestial sound, and in the end, without exception, what was written in the ruler was "unusual soul, allow to pass." The gatekeeper was disappointed to the core. There was no reason for him to stop an unusual soul from entering hell. He started stuffing his intestines again, viciously this time, as he was saying, "I think you really did die of chi deviation." Mo Ran was also quite surprised and did not know why. After thinking about it, he guessed that it was probably Master Huizhui's spell that had confused the Zhongxing ruler and was slightly relieved. "Get lost, take the body sticker. Delay your grandfather for half a day. Get lost." Mo Ran couldn't ask more to be let go and was about to leave with the lamp in his arms. Then, the gatekeeper eyes brightened and stopped him with a loud voice, "Stop! Stand still!" Mo Ran's heart was beating fast, but his face was still calm, and he asked, seemingly exasperated, "What's wrong again?" The gatekeeper lifted his chin. "What is that you are holding in your arms?" "Oh, this." Mo Ran rubbed the soul-calling lantern, thoughts flashing in his mind, and turned to laugh. "It's my funeral." "Your funeral?" "Yes, it's an enchanted item." "Heh. Sounds fun." The gatekeeper gestured to the table. There's a certain brightness in his eyes. "Put your funeral here and get tested again." "I'm afraid it's this enchanted item of yours that had confused the Zhongxing ruler." Mo Ran had already cursed this bull in his heart, but there was nothing he could do but to put the soul-calling lantern down and extend his wrist again in apprehension. The gatekeeper seemed to have his mind made up and couldn't wait to press the ruler up again. The result, however, is the same. The ruler's judgment is still said, the same words as clear as day, "Unusual soul, allow to pass." Even Mo Ran, just like the guards, were at a loss for words, but having taken this test again and again, the other side was finally defeated and let him in with an extremely lazy wave of the hand. Not daring to stay long, Mo Ran picks up the soul-calling lantern and walks through the long tunnel until the light changes at the end. The ghost world, vastly unfolding before his eyes. This is the first level of hell, and at first glance it is impossible to see the end of it. The sky is scarlet, like a boiling glow. Strange vines and trees rose from the ground, while nearby there are jagged roofs and tiles, and in the distance, there are palaces and houses. At the entrance, there was a huge boulder with the inscription "Cao's skin returns to dust, his soul to Nangtown." Next to it stands a red-painted pagoda with the words Nangtown. Each character was as tall as an adult male, depicted in gold water. The first level of hell is called Nangtown. If there was nothing wrong with the dead's soul, they would stay here for 8 or 10 years, waiting for the judge to call them, and then go to the second level to be judged. Mo Ran holds the soul-calling lantern as he looks on. At a glance, the layout of the town is not much different from that of a normal town on the mortal realm. There are 18 streets in total, 9 horizontal and 9 vertical streets including households and tile shops. Ghost men, ghost women, and ghost children were walking in all directions, laughing and crying, just like a group of demons dancing and 100 ghosts walking at night. To the east, a newly bereaved woman was heard choking, "What to do, what to do? They say that a woman who remarried will be cut in two, the upper half and the lower half, and each will go to the 2 dead husbands. Is this true? Who can tell me if this is true?" Near her, there was also a naked girl with messy temples wiping tears. "It's not that I want to be a secret mistress, I just really can't afford to live. Before I died, I went to a temple and donated a threshold, wanting 1,000 people to step on it to atone for my sins. but the village chief said I had to pay him 400 gold taels before he would allow me to replace the threshold. I need so much money. I can only sell my flesh. A man to the west was also counting, 401 days, 402 days, 403 days. We agreed that she would leave when I did, and that we would die together. If she is so weak, she might not have lost her way on the road to the Yellow Springs, and if she has, what should I do? The newly dead ghosts gathered at the entrance to Nant town in groups of 3 or 5, seemingly still reluctant and lingering. But further on, there are old ghosts who have come back to their senses and resigned themselves to their fate. They were much more calm, much more at ease, some of them making their own living, passing the days in poverty, suffering through the long hours, waiting for the judgment. When you reach 3rd Street, the clamor of a busy city is more pronounced, no less inferior to any other busy city. In the end, they are all souls who have not broken their flesh and bones, and they are still indistinguishable from human beings since they haven't drunk the menpo soup. Those who were street performers while alive, still perform on the street, and those who were embroiderers in life still weave clothes from the clouds of hell after they die. Butchers, on the other hand, no longer dare to kill, but they can always pick up a job sharpening knives and choking shears. There was much hawking and shouting, and a great deal of bustling. Moran walks up to a ghost selling calligraphy and paintings. The ghost had probably not sold a single painting in his life and had died of starvation. When he saw someone sitting in front of his stall, the thin scholar raised his dizzy eyes, but his expression was eager. "Do you want to buy a painting, young master? I want you to draw a portrait for me." The scholar seems to be a little sorry. Portraits are lacking in artistic sense. Landscapes are better. Look at this picture of haze and clouds on Mount Tai. Moran said, "I don't like landscapes, so I'll ask you to paint a person for me." The scholar looked at him twice, not too happy. A benevolent man enjoys the mountains and a wise man enjoys the water. You are young, you should cultivate your sentiments and smell more of the scent of painting. I originally could not sell this painting of the clouds and haze of Mount Tai, but since you have come to my stall, I think you are not completely ignorant, so I will give you a bargain. I want a painting of a person. Scholar. The two men locked eyes, but the scholar was no match for him, and in a short time he was defeated, but afterwards he was quite angry, and even his dead face seemed to have some blood on it. I don't like painting people. To paint a portrait, it will be 10 times the price. Moran asked, "The ghost world needs money too. Family and friends bring offerings, paper money, or something." The scholar said coldly, "Money makes the devil work. I don't like the smell of copper, but a gentleman loves his money, and he has a way of taking it. You are not a friend or a relative, nor do you know Boyajichi, so why should I suffer for you for no reason?" He rattled on and on, but Moran, who was not well read, immediately frowned and said, "I've just arrived and no one has burned paper money for me yet." The scholar said, "No money, no painting." Moran thought about it for a moment and came up with an idea, so he pointed to the painting of the haze and clouds of Mount Tai and said, "Fine, if I can't buy then so be it, but I have nothing to do. Can you tell me about this landscape painting?" The scholar froze and turned his anger to joy. "You want to hear about this?" Moran nodded. "I don't have to pay for this knowledge, right?" "No need." The scholar was very haughty, with a somewhat ridiculous and pathetic glow on his face. "Learning does not speak of money. To speak of money in this context is shameful. A scholar's business must not be tainted with that vulgarity." Moran nodded again and thought, he knew exactly why this little scholar starved to death. Although he found it amusing, his heart was more or less indifferent. Though it was a pity that the scholar was too proud, otherwise he would have liked to give him some silver. The scholar gleefully took the framed painting from the shelf and set it up, clearing a ghostly throat that didn't need clearing, and said apprehensively and proudly, "Then I'll begin." Seeing that the little scholar had taken the bait, Moran smiled and said, Please do tell. End chapter. Dumb Husky and his white cat Shizun. Chapter 107. Shizun's portrait. The scholar talked for 2 hours, talking about Confucius and Mencius, making Moran dizzy and sleepy, but he still had to look interested, which was hard. However, Moran has a knack for pretending to be listening. In the beginning, there should be a frown of confusion and doubt. When the other person has spoken for a while, he gives an O, and his brow spreads a little, as if he has slightly gained the way and is gradually understanding. Remember to keep your eyes open, your gaze burning, and an O is essential to make sure that the person you are talking to thinks that you have gained an understanding and enlightened by his teaching. 3 O's, which he used in Chu Wanning's class. Unfortunately, Chu Wanning doesn't take kindly to this and always looks at him coldly to shut him up. But the little scholar had never been treated like this before, and when he got to the end of his talk, his eyes were shining and he was jumping up and down, as if he had forgotten how much he had disliked Moran earlier, that there was no trace of the reserve and arrogance he had just shown. I see. Moran laughed. After hearing you say that, and looking at this landscape, I realized how precious this painting is and that 1,000 pieces of gold will never be enough to exchange with it. If the little scholar had been a living person, he would have been red in the face, but now he was not half as excited as he was blushing, and he was so happy that he didn't know how to put his hands and feet, and just laughed like a child, his thin face full of light. It's the first time for Moran to do something that had made a ghost so happy. When it was almost time, he got up, saluted the other man and said, "It's late, so I'll look around again and find a place to stay. If the young master is free tomorrow, I will come back to look for you again." The scholar, who was surprised to be called young master, was overjoyed, half terrified and half happy. No, 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 young master, I dare not be called young master. I have taken the exam many times, but I have not even won a scholarship. I am sorry. Moran laughed and said, "The level of one's character and literacy is not measured by one's fame but about one's heart." The scholar was astonished. "You, how could you say such a thing?" "That's what my Shizun said, just picking up people's teeth." Scholar, picking up the pieces. Yeah, ha 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 ha. Moran laughed and scratched his head. I remembered it wrong again. Seeing that it was getting late, and that no one would come to ask about the painting today, the scholar packed his basket and pouch and said, "I have nothing to do, and it is rare to meet someone I can talk to. Although it is said that a gentleman's friendship is as light as water, it is also important to have 1,000 glasses of wine with a friend." Seeing him starting to slip into literature again, Moran cut him off with a smile and said, "Are you trying to say, I think it's getting late, why don't we go somewhere for a drink?" "Ah, yes, yes, a little drink is good for the soul, yes." "Good." Moran nodded. "Young master, I'll pay." Scholar. On a small, greasy table is a plate of scattered 10 or so peanuts and 2 small glasses of wine, a modest half-cup full. Only one candle is lit in the restaurant, burning apprehensively and shabbily, and the sharp-tongued owner is behind the counter polishing a bowl with a gaping hole in it. The place is a bit shabby. The scholar looked a little uneasy, "But I haven't received any paper money either, and there are only a few shops I've been to, and this one's not too bad." "It's all good." Moran picked up the wine glass and took a closer look. "Do ghosts still eat?" "It's all imaginary, like giving an offering." The scholar smacked a mouthful of peanuts, but they didn't disappear, and he said, "Look, it's like this. Taste it." Moran put his wine down without moving. He wasn't a dead person and eating would reveal flaws. After the scholar had drunk his 3rd bottle, his depressed state of mind seemed to have improved, and after chatting with Moran for a while, he asked, "Master Mo asked me to paint a portrait earlier. Is this for the person you like?" Moran waved his hands. No, it's my Shizun." "Ah." The scholar was stunned. I've been setting up stalls in the underworld for years, and I've seen people come to ask for pictures of beauties, but I've never seen anyone ask me to paint a picture of their master. Your Shizun must have treated you very well. Moran was mortified and said, yes, he did. He is very good to me. No wonder. The scholar nodded. What's the painting of him for? To find him. The scholar gave another ah, and looked surprised. He is also in the underworld. Moran said, I heard that the dead would have to stay in Nangtown for 10 or 8 years. I worry about him. I want to find him and keep him company. The scholar did not doubt this and was even a little moved. After a long time of contemplation, he finally sighed and said, it is rare to see such devotion. Master Mo, I will do you this favor, he said and got up to open the trunk and take the painting tools. Moran was overjoyed and thanked him repeatedly. He asked him for his name and surname and secretly took it into his heart that he would burn more gold and silver for his poor brother when he returned from the afterlife. The two of them, one was sentimental and the other enthusiastic, spread paper and ink. As a result, within 2 sentences of starting the work, they've encountered a wall. My Shizun is, he is. Moran clenched his hand into a fist and tapped it several times on his knee, but still didn't come up with a proper description. After holding back for a long time, this man with poor words finally came up with, he's a beauty in every way, draw him like that. The scholar glared at him. Moran, go on, start painting him. How is he beautiful? Isn't it very simple? He is a beauty, paint a good-looking figure. I know he looks good, but forget about it. Say, what kind of face he has? What kind of face? Moran stared, baffled. A face is a face. The scholar was a bit exasperated. Which shape? Melon, almond, wood, egg, which one? I don't know about this and that, only that he is quite handsome. Scholar. Moran, forget it, if you don't know, draw my face, we're not too different. Scholar. Then there are the eyes. What about his eyes? Seeing Morans was about to speak, he suddenly stopped him and added. Don't say eyes are eyes. Moran waved his hand and said, I know what you mean. His eyes are, how can I put it? Fierce, charming, cold, and gentle. The scholar slammed his brush down and said angrily, I'm not going to draw any more. Don't, Moran said, pulling him back, the others don't draw as well as you do. The scholar held back and glared at him, but seeing Moran's face full of sincerity, he said stiffly, then speak properly, and answer whatever I ask. Moran was also aggrieved. He thought to himself that he had just given a good answer, and that he had answered whatever was asked of him, but since he was the one in need, he just nodded obediently and clutched the soul-calling lantern in his arms miserably. The scholar said, all right, about his eyes. Is he leopard-eyed, 3 white-eyed, almond-eyed, phoenix-eyed or? Moran felt dizzy from hearing it, shook his head and said, wouldn't the slit eyes be small? No, his eyes are raised, I don't know what they're called, anyway they just fly upwards and they're kinda pretty. That's the phoenix eye. Moran opened his mouth, but when he saw the scholar's unhappy face, he shut up again. Fine, if you say phoenix eyes, it's phoenix eyes. The scholar then asked, is his nose high or short? High. Are the lips thin or thick? Thin. Are the eyebrows thick or thin? Thick. Coarse and fine. All right, eyebrows I know, should be sword eyebrows. Good. The scholar adds a few more strokes and asks again, is there a mole mark on his face? Moran tilted his head in thought, but blushed as he thought about it and mumbled, yes. Where? By the left ear. Moran said slowly, a tiny one, quite light in color, and then he's extra sensitive when he's kissed there. The scholar raised an eyebrow, and then Nope. Mo Ran's head shook like a rattle and his face reddened even more. No more then. The scholar gave him a rather strange look, but fortunately the light was too dim to see the blush on his face. He moistened his ink with the tip of his pen and asked again, what about his attire? He likes to wear white. Bound with a green jade crown, or a high ponytail. Mo Ran thought for a moment and added, sometimes draped, too, and when draped, it's especially. Stop saying it looks good, said the scholar, who could not stand it any longer. Well, handsome it is then. Scholar. After working on it for half a day, the painting was finally finished. Mo Ran blew on the ink and held it up for a closer look. He thought it was not as handsome as Chu Wanning, nor did it look very similar, but it was barely usable. It's quite good. I only came close to painting Pen and Fanli and Ziza Diao Chan. Ha 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 ha. Mo Ran was happy and said, when I find my Shizun, I will thank you again. Mo Ran drank wine with the scholar some more and chatted with him for a while. When the sky got darker, the two parted ways in front of the wine shop. Mo Ran carried Chu Wanning's portrait, and according to the scholar, there was a building in Nantow's 5th Street called the Shunfeng House, which was dedicated to giving information to the newly arrived ghosts. He was ready to check it out. Outside the Shunfeng House, a red sign flutters with a black snake totem painted on it. Mo Ran pushes the door inside and sees a long counter spanning the hall, behind which sit a dozen or so ghosts in ochre red robes, all wearing wooden lacquer masks that covered their true appearance. In front of these masked ghosts, a long line of dead people, each with a different look and a different agenda, snaked around. Hundreds of white candles float at the top of the building, overlapping shadows of the lights shining to illuminate the dead. The ghosts come and go, and it was a very busy time. Young master, can you help me find out where my brother is? His name is Zhang Bei, a native of Gasu, and he was 21 years old when he died. Is there a portrait? No, no. We can look for him without a portrait, but the cost would be 10 times more expensive. Big brother dash. The masked man coughed, his voice clear. Oh, I'm sorry, it's my wife. When I died, my family told me that she would never remarry, but I've been watching her and my brother eyeing each other for a long time. I cannot accept this even after I die. Can you check for me to see if she is being a well-behaved widow in Yangjin or if she has moved on with my brother? Checking matters in the mortal world, the price is this. You can take a look first. In my last life, I liked a girl, but she was from a wealthy family and would not have a scholar who did not have a good education. I was too timid to reveal my feelings to her. When she got married, I was happy for her. I was happy for her, but she was entrusted to a man who was already married. But then something happened and she was one step ahead of me. So, I want to find out two things: firstly, where she is now, and secondly, what our destiny will be in the next life. The destiny for the next life can be checked, but it cannot be paid by money. It needs to be exchanged for life expectancy. As for where the girl is, I beg the gentleman to give the name and present her portrait. Oh, well, well. The portrait is there, here it is. The girl's surname is Yao and her first name is Lan. In front of every cabinet are chirping ghosts, their bodies are becoming rotten, but their obsessions are still in place. Mo Ran hugged the soul-calling lamp and walked around looking right and left. In order for these dead people to get the information they wanted, the personnel of Shunfeng House either collected money or life expectancy. He had no money, and if he let them collect his life expectancy, it would be known that he is an undead person who had infiltrated the underworld. He was so anxious that he cursed Master Huizhui for not having the presence of mind to slip some money into his pocket in advance. But looking at the price, it didn't seem too expensive to look for a location of a soul. Mo Ran ran back to the restaurant and managed to catch up with the scholar. He borrowed some money and went back to the Shunfeng House. After waiting in line for half a day, his turn came. Moran said urgently, I am seeking someone. Here is the portrait. He handed Chu Wanning's portrait to the other man and was about to go on. When the man looked at it, he laughed lightly, closed the scroll and asked, What do you want with him? Ah! Moran was stunned. You already know where he is just by looking at the painting. Yes. But first tell me what you seek him for. He's an old friend of mine. The other man glanced at him again, then said, Wait a minute. And then leaned over and whispered a few words to a fellow officer next to him. When he turned back again, his tone was much kinder. Since you are an old friend of Master Chu's, no money will be collected. The man rose and waved him over, Come with me upstairs. End chapter.